Hi everyone, my name is Julian, and over the last couple of months I've become increasingly enthusiastic about and involved with the StimulusReflex project, the novel way to create reactive web applications with Ruby on Rails and only minimal JavaScript. So lately I've rewatched Sam Stevenson's RailsConf 2016 talk about native hybrid apps with TurboLinks iOS, and considered exploring how StimulusReflex could work in that context. For that, I'm picking up Nate Hopkins' Twitter clone in 10 minutes demo, which I've checked out and running here. So that's running in Firefox here and still works as expected. To explore the iOS functionality, of course, we need to create Xcode project, so let's just do that. A single view app project. We name it Chatter iOS. Save it. Next, we're going to initialize TurboLinks iOS. For that, I'll use CocoaPods just to show off how that works. Let's open that up. In our editor real quick here. Here's the pod file. And we're just going to require the TurboLinks pod here, point it to a Git repository, save this and run pod install. Now we need to reopen Xcode. Just make sure that you use the Xcode workspace in this case. And we need to change a setting, as Sam already explained in his talk, in order to be able to bypass SSL security locally. So this is a bit different than in the TurboLinks demo from Sam, because setup of iOS project has changed quite a bit. But I did this by try and error. I'm no Swift expert myself. But we'll get to the point very quickly. We add a new navigation controller. Navigation controller. Be able to spell it correctly. As a new UI navigation controller. Are we going to strip everything out here and reassign the root view controller to our navigation controller. So let's build this to check out if it works. So here we have a blank iOS app that's perfect. And next we need to add TurboLinks to the scene here. So going to import TurboLinks. Define a session. need a visit function to point our URLs to. Let's just quickly instantiate that. Now what we're going to do is every time a visit occurs, is we're going to instantiate a new visitable view controller with the URL and push it onto our stack of view controllers and tell the session to visit the view controller. Okay, great. It's just one thing we need to do. We need to tell the session to make an initial visit, and we're going to visit just the root URL of our application, which lives on localhost 3000, and build and run again. Turns out I made a small mistake here. Yeah, I need to unwrap it. As I said, I'm no Swift expert. So build and run again. And we can see our chatter UI here already. Gonna close this again. And make the next improvement. In order for our app to handle visit proposals by travelings, we are going to need to make this scene delegate a delegate of the session. Delegate is itself. And of course, extend the protocol. Just stub up the needed functions here, and in our did propose, going to skip error handling for now. In our did propose visit to URL callback, I'm going just to tell the scene delegate to visit URL. So let's give it a quick spin. I need to edit the placeholder to do handle errors. Give it a quick spin to see if it works side by side. So, hey again, and it gets updated in the app, and we can repost and like from the app, and it gets broadcast to the browser. There's one thing we need to handle separately for the iOS app though, and that's form submission, because the form submission in the browser in the Ruby on Rails app will trigger a full reload, and actually we want to have turbolinks on the iOS side to handle this. So first things first, we need in the correct app, in our WinRails app, we need the post control. No, sorry, we need the view, the form, to handle things remotely. That just means that the controller action, that's why I went to controller first, will issue a TurboLinks visit afterwards, rather than doing a full page refresh. And just to be clear, this is going to happen when the create action gets called. TurboLinks replace is going to be called. And what we need to do now is, in our iOS app, we need the visit action, the visit function, to switch on the two TurboLinks actions, advance and visit. So I'm going to leave this as is, because just insert a if statement here. So if the action is advance, we keep everything as is. We push a new view controller, and if it isn't, check if it's a replace action. And then there's two cases we need to cover. Oh yeah, we need to also pass in the action here and give it a default value of advance. There's two cases that can occur here. Either it's the first view controller in the stack. If that's the case, navigation controller navigation controller view controllers, the count is 1. We're going to simply replace it, set view controllers with our view controller, and do not animate it, because there's nothing to replace in the first place. But it will trigger ugly ugly animations, segues from one view to the other, which we do not want. Come on. And if that's not the case, so if we have more than one view controller on stack, we can pop one without animation and push the view controller upon it. I forgot to actually use the correct action. Here. Action. So now with the correct action passed to the visit action, visit function, let's test from iOS, and we get a reload and everything is broadcast. So that's one thing I want to show off here, and that's the use of variants, action pack variants, to handle native views differently in Ruby on Rails than in our Rails browser action. For that, we're going to make our iOS app a custom view agent, a custom user agent. So we're going to lazy initialize this. Need to import WebKit. Always forget that one. Import WebKit, then make a new web view configuration and application name for user agent. This is going to append chatter iOS to the user agent and return a session with a web view configuration here. Perfect. So if I restart this, everything still works. So just wanted to check it. And now, in our Ruby on Rails app, we need to change a couple of things. First, we're going to make this a little more pretty for mobile views by adding a viewport meta tag to application layout. In a post controller, we're going to define a private method, set variant, and this will set the request variant. To iOS if the user agent contains the string chatter iOS. And we're going to call this as a before action. Before action set variant. All right. Now we're going to add the view variants here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy paste the index.html and call it HTML plus iOS. That's how the variants are defined, and let's do the same with post. And we're going to change some things here. Stimulus demo from iOS. So it's clear we're in the iOS demo. And for example, make this a dark inverted card. So just to show that's working. Good. Start our app again. And we instantly can see that our variants are kicking in. So we get KeyReady and StimulusReflex demo from iOS. And our card is black. But now we have a problem. If I again say hi from this side, the iOS variant, the dark one, is gonna get broadcast to the browser app as well. And that's because if we take a look at the post controller code here, KeyReady is just rendering the partial here, and of course, if I post from the iOS app, cable ready has no clue that on the other hand, that on the other side a browser app is waiting. And if I refresh this, oh, that's interesting. Ah, I've not copied this. I replaced it. If I refresh it, those are the correct variants again. I can do this in the other direction too. If I say hi from Firefox, create post, I'm going to get the wrong variant on this side. So what can we do about it? The solution is a bit hacking of our cable ready, of our action cable setup. It's actually quite simple once you think about it. And that's, we're going to pick our timeline channel here and make the string from attribute dynamic. So we're going to pass the param here and call it param agent. So that's that. In our post controller, we need two cable ready broadcast calls. The first one is the Firefox one, the browser one. I'm calling this without any variants explicitly. And the second one is the iOS channel. And we're going to call this explicitly with the iOS variant prepended. Now the remaining question is, how do we tell our channel what channel it is? And the answer lies in the consumer, in the JavaScript side of the iOS. In the JavaScript side of the action cable application. So we're going to revamp this subscription call here a bit. I'm going to tell it that it's on the timeline channel, but we add a second attribute to the instantiation here, and that is the agent. We're going to check again, as we do in the post controller, going to check if our window navigator user agent contains the string chatter iOS. If it does, we set the agent to iOS, otherwise to an empty string. So what that's going to do is set the param that's going to be passed to the channel and is handled as a different stream. Let's check it out. Just stop this again and restart it. This time without a hassle. And it's being rendered in the correct variant. How cool is that?